What's going on, people? It is Philly Fan 1987, and this is Bleeding Green Daily. So what I usually do is drive around in the car or sit in my car and talk to you a little bit about my thoughts and feelings on the Eagles. I'm not going to sell you a pipe dream. I do not know what we're going to do in this draft. I think spending a whole bunch of time on one particular position is pointless because the Eagles tend to go in a completely different direction. Excuse me. The Eagles tend to go in a completely different direction than a lot of the people that we tend to pine over the whole time. So it just feels pointless to focus on receiver all the way up to the draft and then get disappointed and not really know any of the other players in that top 10, knowing that 9 times out of 10, we're not going to do what the fans want us to do. So I have come to the conclusion that I will be happy with any player we get in the top 10. Any player. Whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Zach Wilson, whether it's Trey Lance, whether it's Chase, whether it's Pitts, whether it's Smith, whether it's Surtain, whether it's the linebacker from Penn State, which I won't even mention a name because I know we're not drafting them. Whether it's offensive linemen, which even that's kind of tricky subject, but I'm going to be happy with any of those guys because I think any of those guys can help us out with all the holes that we have and could really add to add to what we have going. But we don't know. We don't know what we're going to do, but anything can be justifiable. Even if they went quarterback. I know a lot of people don't want us to go quarterback. They want Hurts to get his go at it, his try, and Hurts is an enigma for me. You really want to root for Hurts because of all the adversity he's dealt with and gotten over and gotten past. His leadership ability. Excuse me, tired. Been doing some plumbing last night, so I apologize. But the leadership ability, his ability to mentor and get the guys around him going, just who he is and who he seems to be as a person. Forget all the tape. Who he is and who he shows himself to be as a person is enough to root for the guy. But rooting for the guy is not enough. You really have to look at his college tape. You really have to look at his the 4 games as a pro. You really have to consider all of his weaknesses. Look at his scouting report. Look at everything, and really determine whether or not he's a good enough player. And we can look at the Saints in the Arizona game and say that based off of that, he is great and amazing, and he should be the guy. But that doesn't really tell me that. So there's a couple of things that we need to really think about. Now, if he's great and turns out to be great, fine. It helps the Eagles win, and I love it. But the blind loyalty and the blind loyalty and the blind just deliverance of the title of QB1 to him is not something I'm willing to do. Now, I'll root for him. If he gets the nod, I will root for him. I'm going to hope that he does well. I'm going to hope that he does great. I'm going to hope that he is the guy. But I won't blindly give him the title of QB1. He has to earn that. Now, I'm all welcome for him to earn that. But I'm just not open to throwing away other options either. If we take a Zach Wilson, if Zach Wilson falls to us, if Fields falls to us, if Lance falls to us, we really need to give it some thought. We really need to know that we did our due diligence and know that we can pass on all 3 of these guys because we don't see their ceiling or the talent level or any of those things being better than Hurts. If those guys appear to be better than Hurts at all, take them. And I have no regrets, and I won't feel bad, because if they're better than him, take them. If it's like being a manager at work, and you have this guy who's a diligent, hard worker. He's great. He's a great personality. He's just a great overall guy, and he wants a promotion. But then you get a resume on your desk from an outsider that you barely know, who has everything that you want for this position. Do I give the job to the guy I know who's hardworking, but may not have everything needed for the position, but he's a great guy? Or do I give a chance to the unknown guy who fits everything that I want and has all the credentials for the job? Now, I'm not saying there's a right answer to this one way or the other, but the people who blindly say, if 3 of these guys are QB1, if Fields, Wilson, and Lance are QB1s for other teams, and they go out and they have career Hall of Fame careers, and then Hurts is just okay or pretty good, but never does anything great, you're going to be okay with that? I'm not going to be okay with that. I'm going to say that Lance was right there for the taking. Fields was right there for the taking. Wilson was right there for the taking. Because I still feel the pain and anguish of not getting Russell Wilson back when we took Nick Foles. And I know that we had nothing to do with it. The Seahawks jumped in front of us and took Russell Wilson. But still, if you have the chance to take a franchise-changing guy, no matter at what position, a franchise-changing guy has to be taken. And I have no feelings or remorse towards Hurts if we do that. It's the game. It's a game, and we intend to win it. We're not trying to win your feelings or make you feel good. If that's the case, we should have just tossed Carson back in the game in 2020 when he was playing horrible. Your feelings and his feelings and everyone's feelings should be removed from this. We're playing a game, and we want to win the game. And we want to win the game 16 times and then make it to the playoffs and win the rest of the times and get a Super Bowl trophy. If that is the mission, I don't care about feelings. I don't care about any of that other stuff, any of that superficial stuff. The purpose of this game is to win and win at a high level and to win championships. That's what I want. But let me get off the soapbox. I'm okay with any position as long as they are a blue chipper player and that they live up to the expectations. And I know you really can't say that for anybody drafted. But as long as you've done enough due diligence, as long as you've done enough testing, as long as you've pried and questioned them enough, as long as you've done some kind of stress test to see how they are under fire and duress, as long as you've done enough tape study, do enough research on the guy, know that this guy is, the tape says he's a blue chipper. His personality says he's a blue chipper. His ability to deal with duress says he's a blue chipper. As long as those 3 things check off the box, draft him and I'll be okay with it. That's why I don't care if it's a quarterback, don't care if it's a cornerback, don't care if it's a linebacker, don't care if it's a receiver. I don't want to sell you a pipe dream. I want a really good player. And we have so many holes, it doesn't really matter what we take. We're going to still have a hole somewhere else if we don't draft correctly with the other 10 picks. If we do really well with the first round, but then it's a crapshoot for all of the other positions, it's not going to matter if we drafted a quarterback or a wide receiver or a running back or whatever. If the rest of the team is trash, one guy isn't going to do it for us. So we really need to just pick well and do that for every draft pick. Pick well, pick guys who fit what we're trying to do, pick guys who can play, pick guys who have a pretty good personality, We don't want them being a nuisance or a cancer in the locker room. Pick guys who can handle stress and adversity. Pick guys who are smart football players and are passionate about the game of football. Do those things. I don't care if he is a 4.0 student at Harvard. If he's smart outside of football but not smart in football, that crap does not matter to me. He has to be smart on the football field. He has to be smart at diagnosing the other side of the field, understanding what the defense or offense is doing to them, understand situational football. These are the things that I'm worried about. These are the things that I'm thinking about. And that's the players that we need to pick. So I don't care if he is any of those players or any of those positions. I just want good football players. I just want us to make good decisions. I just want us to do the right things. I just want us to pick right for a change. I want us to have a really, really good draft. I want us to collaborate between our NFL staff, head coach, coaches, players that they would like, players that they desire, with the scouts, with Howie Roseman, and all of y'all come together and collectively grab some really great players. We do that, I don't care who we get. But I'm not going to fall into that pool of people who are in love with players, and then we don't get the player and they're ready to boo the next guy because it wasn't the guy that they wanted. What's the point? If I had to rank guys, though, Pitts is my number one. And then everybody else. I'm scared for Pitts, though, because I think one of those other teams, if they really know how to utilize him and they really think that he is all that great, he could get snatched up by the Falcons or somebody before the Falcons. Bengals, I really think that they'll take a offensive lineman because they really need to keep their quarterback upright. So I think that's the safest pick. That and Lawrence at number one is the safest pick. Everyone in between could easily take Chase, could easily take Pitts, could easily take a quarterback. But Lawrence for the Jags and offensive lineman for Bengals, I think those two are sure things. Now, what if Pitts and Chase is off the board? Because you got Miami, who could take a wide receiver or tight end. You got the Jets, who could decide to keep their quarterback or trade for another quarterback. And they might want a receiver or a tight end for the receiver, for the cornerback, for the quarterback that they trade for. Or if they decide to keep Sam Darnold, they can get him some weapons. So what if both of them are off the board? Both of them are off the board. Give a great eye to quarterback. Give a great eye to the defense. Look at the linebacker. Look at the corner. That's my plan. But as it is, it's been about 13 minutes now. So this is Bleeding Green Daily, Philly Fan 1987. Take care. To add a little note to what I didn't add earlier. Over the past 30 years, we have only drafted defensive line, offensive line, and quarterback in the top 10 of the draft. And out of those, we chose in order. We chose defensive lineman, quarterback, Donovan McNabb, Lane Johnson, offensive lineman, and then Carson Wentz, quarterback. So it's kind of hard. That seems to be the philosophy. Take care of the trenches, take care of the quarterback. It's kind of hard to ignore that history and to ignore that philosophy. That philosophy was Andy Reid's philosophy. That philosophy was Joe Banner's philosophy. That philosophy is now Howie Roseman's philosophy. it's kind of hard to ignore philosophy. So I would consider those things greatly at 6, unless we move down or move up. Well, if we move up, I would still consider that philosophy. But if we move down, I think you have to consider some other options and some other choices. But even with receiver, we typically take receiver at the teens and below the teens. Now, don't ask me why that matters, how they pick that this is where their value is, or how that philosophy gets into how they value positions. I don't know those things. Just giving you that tidbit, though. So that's why I say we still will be checking for quarterback, offensive line, or defensive line. We can already eliminate one of those positions because I don't think defensive lineman would be there at 6. It wouldn't be an option at 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So defensive line would only be a position that we would consider if we move down or trade down. So you've got offensive lineman and quarterback. Even with offensive linemen, we really don't need to check for offensive linemen too much. And even if somebody does go down with injury, I think we're more likely to use one of the backups we previously had on the staff and in the lineup, in the backup already versus some rookie who probably doesn't know the offense yet. And we may not have an off season for him to work. So just wanted to touch on that.